How's it going, guys? One Piece has just returned this week for another amazing chapter in the Straw Hat's final saga, and this might be the biggest development we've had within the Egghead Island arc, or dare we say it, even the entire series. So, what's in store for all you landlubbers and scallywags with One Piece's 1113th chapter? Join us until the end of this video as we tell you all about what you can expect in the absolute bombshell of an issue. And of course, you already knew this. Full spoilers ahead for One Piece chapter 1113. Now, let's sail away and unpack this bad boy. What to expect from One Piece chapter 1113. The previous installment of Oda Sensei's magnificent nautical shonen series ended with quite a curious cliffhanger. In it, we saw Marcus Mars, who at this point has transformed back into his human form, standing inside Punk Records to find a way to interrupt the broadcast. While inside, Vegapunk's pre-recorded message continued to play. He saw something just off panel there, an object that was making a rather ominous dripping sound. Well, at least ominous for the world government and its cabal of evil geezers. Here we are now in the 1113th chapter of One Piece, and we pick up right where we left off, as the issue opens with Marcus Mars giving readers curt but welcome exposition about what Punk Records is. It's basically the world's greatest repository of knowledge, which the Elder likens to a brain. All the while, Vegapunk's broadcast continues to run. At this point, the old doctor is just about ready to finally reveal what this message entails. Suffice it to say that if nothing else, the late doctor has a knack for showmanship, as he kept the people of One Piece's world and us fans hanging on to his every word for more than a month. And it's about to pay off. Vegapunk says that he'll finally release his statement in 30 seconds. In the meantime, Marcus Mars stares at the object he saw at the closing panel of the previous issue, and it's a doozy. Turns out the genius doctor basically made a huge device containing all the information gathered within Punk Records. In fact, it is Punk Records. It's one almost as large as a room and looks like a gigantic jellyfish shaped like Vegapunk's head inside a fishbowl connected to large sci-fi tubes. Magnificent. Just absolutely magnificent design work from Oda Sensei. Anyway, Mars remarks that this thing is, in a way, alive. It's somewhat similar to Vegapunk creating a copy of his mind using Punk Records, and the Elder wonders if it's actually conscious. Come to think of it, it won't be much of a surprise if it is. Vegapunk has contingencies stacked upon contingencies after all. Then, Mars turns his attention toward the Den Den Mushi, the streaming transponder snail that he believes would be the key to stopping Vegapunk's broadcast. The transponder plays Vegapunk's recording in real time. All the while, the rest of the known world are tuning into the old doctor's big reveal. Over at East Blue, in Usopp's hometown of Syrup Village, Tamanegi, Mary, Ninjin, Piman, and Kaya are gathered around the transponder snail as they listen to what the old man's about to say. Kaya tells the kids that the Vegapunk is also pretty much the Michael Jordan of medicine in their world. Ninjin calls bull, but Tamanegi tells him to shut his trap. At the same time, the Marines are listening to the same broadcast. The same thing is happening at Twin Cape Lighthouse too, as Crocus intently listens to the message. Of course, it's no surprise that the residents of Baltimore, Vegapunks Hometown, are tuning into the broadcast as well. One of them asks another villager if Vegapunk's really from the island, and another guy responds to them and says that the old man's basically Baltimore's hometown hero. Yet another Baltimorean asks if Vegapunk is the same guy who perpetrated the Nightmare of Baltimore, to which another person corrects them, it's actually Frankie, and based on what they've heard, Frankie's turned himself into a ship. Oh man, if only. Move over, Thousand Sunny. 1,000 Frankies here. Anyway, the residents of Birdie Kingdom are also listening to Vegapunk's message at the same time, and we even get a bit of insight about the old genius's reputation in the world, that the man's an undeniable champion of the ways of science, but at the same time, he's responsible for crafting weapons of mass destruction. So yeah, Vegapunk is technically One Piece's version of Richard Oppenheimer. Suffice it to say that the broadcast is everywhere and everyone is listening to it, even random drunk pirates gallivanting on Hachinosu and the rest of the world. Back on Egghead Island, Vegapunk finally begins to reveal the true purpose of the message. In a desperate attempt to stop this from happening, Marcus Mars does the typical world government elder thing to do and steps on the streaming transponder snail inside Punk Records, instead of, pressing the off button on it or something. That's a classic elder move right there. Well, not that finding the off switch and flipping it would have worked anyway, because like we said earlier, Vegapunk has got contingencies for contingencies, baby. He's basically Batman. It turns out that quote-unquote special streaming Den Den Mushi is just a decoy. It's actually your run-of-the-mill transponder snail, and Marcus destroying it did absolutely nothing to interrupt the broadcast. Marcus realizes this and, in another classic Elder move, transforms back into his monstrous Itsumade form to basically lash out and say something along the lines of, "Wah! Curse you, Vegapunk! Wah!" At this point, Vegapunk makes his final preparations, comes front and center of the screen, and begins to talk. In fact, one random guy even shares the same sentiments as us fans, as he screams at the large screen in the middle of his town square for Vegapunk to just let them hear it already. Jeez. The other elders, being the whiny little brats they are, then ask Marcus why he hasn't stopped the broadcast yet, to which the winged elder basically responds by saying, "Screw this, I'm out." Simply put, there's nothing, not even these wealthy, grotesque jerks, can do to halt Vegapunk's message. In fact, they don't even have a clue what Vegapunk's going to say. All they know is that York told them that the old genius had wished to carry the torch of the O'Haran scholars. Then again, it's no surprise that they're entirely clueless about it. The elders are basically a bunch of less creepy-looking Elon Musks. They tell you they made the Tesla, but they sure as hell can't build one themselves. And like any rich idiot who's run out of options, all the elders could do at that moment is stare intensely at the camera as Vegapunk's message plays. While all this is happening, we also get some development with our beloved Straw Hats, as Sanji hears Bonnie's cries from a distance. Of course, Sanji being Sanji, he rushes in and white knights the crap out of Nostro when he sees a centaur-like elder about to smite the Toshi Toshi Nomi user. The Straw Hats cook literally leaps over Frankie and gives the katana-wielding Baldy a cracking front kick to the jaw. Plus point too, when Sanji tells the elder that he ain't gonna give him slack just because he's senile, because this is pirate business, and business is good. Well, not so much, because the Straw Hat Cook should have shut his mouth after that, as Nostro makes Sanji eat a whole piece of humble pie right after taunting him when the elder retaliates by grabbing a bite of his entire midsection a la Attack on Titan. Bonnie sees this and all she can do is yell out Sanji's name. Thankfully, Wemo and Kashi are there to bail Sanji's dumb butt out, as they pounce on Nostro like they were jumping him into a gang, which forces the elder to spit out Sanji. Atlas then tries to catch Vegapunk's lifeless body. Bonnie, on the other hand, isn't just going to be your typical damsel in distress. Come on, she's a pirate queen. So the Toshi Toshi Nomi user activates her ability, Distorted Future, and turns herself into a literal giant. She becomes so large that even the Marines can see her from offshore. Inland, though, the pink-haired pirate has turned into an absolute unit and is about to stomp Nostro's stupid head in. At the same time, Vegapunk's message continues, and the old man states that he's committed a couple of grave sins in his life. He doesn't get into the specifics, but instead we fans get confirmation that the old doctor is technically dead, as his message tells us that the broadcast triggered the moment his heart stopped. News of his demise receives varied reactions from all over the world. Some, like Duval, are confused, while others still, like Morgans and Caesar, are enraged. Vegapunk's message continues and he pretty much says that he doesn't bear any ill will toward whoever killed him. In this case, it's J. Garcia Saturn. Speaking of J. Garcia, he's right in front of Nami's group and unsurprisingly dismisses them in true elder fashion, saying that he's got no time for vermin like them. He then sees Nico Robin and remembers that she's the one that Akainu failed to kill before. For her part, Robin's terrified when she recognizes that J. Garcia is the same guy she heard back in O'Hara. J. Garcia then lunges at Robin, but Nami, Usopp, and Chopper go clutch and rescue their Nakama before one of J. Garcia's creepy spider fingers could stab the Hana Hana Nomi user. Back to Mars's location, the Winged Elder has pretty much given up on trying to find a way to stop Vegapunk's message, but you know who hasn't? York. Yep, she's still trying her best to locate the proverbial off switch in hopes of garnering favor from the elders, which would help her turn into a celestial dragon. All the while, Mars communicates with the other elders and makes the same stupid suggestion he made a couple chapters ago, which is to just destroy everything. Hearing this, his fellow elders J. Garcia and Warcury just fall short of straight up calling him an idiot, basically telling Mars that's out of the question, as it would jeopardize everything, and we mean everything. Their ships, the Marines, all their stuff, probably Warcury's drum set, everything. On top of that, Warcury tells Mars that going scorched earth on Egghead would ruin their chance of replicating the Mother Flame. It's settled. Marcus Mars is One Piece's Patrick Star. Doy. And finally, freaking finally, Vegapunk stops with the introductions and gives us the big reveal at the end of the issue. One Piece's world is going to sink in the ocean. Our thoughts and theories about One Piece chapter 1113. With One Piece's 1113th chapter in the books, we get perhaps the biggest reveal in the entirety of the Egghead Island arc, which is Vegapunk stating that the world is inevitably bound for an Old Testament-style flood. More than that, this chapter of Oda Sensei's series also gives us what may very well be the setup for the remainder of the final saga. Now, we haven't gotten the specifics of what will cause or why this cataclysm is going to happen, but we can guess that it might be related to the devil fruits. As Vegapunk had stated before, these power-giving treats and those who've eaten them are basically considered as natural anomalies, so perhaps the flood is nature's way of purging the world of these fruits and their users. Aside from that, this chapter gives us a nice cliffhanger in regards to Sanji. Personally, we doubt that he's going to die. It's more likely that he'll just end up a paraplegic after Nusturo cracked his spine with that devastating chop. Honestly though, as exciting as this chapter is, it's rather light on the plot, since the majority of the issue is made up of reaction shots from people all over the world listening to Vegapunk's message. So yeah, it's a pretty good installment of One Piece, but it's far from perfect. We're not complaining though, because finally receiving Vegapunk's message has us hankering for what Oda-sensei will come up with in the next chapter. It was more than enough to make up for the lack of plot movement. Here's hoping Sanji survives and we get more details about this world-ending flood by then. What did you think of One Piece Chapter 1113? What do you think will happen next? Sound off in the comments section below. Subscribe to our channel and hit that notification bell to be the first to see more amazing manga and anime content. We'll catch you soon, guys.